Hey, you're tuned in to Tech Talk with VLink, an award-winning podcast brought to you by VLink Inc.
Welcome to Tech Talk with VLink, where we explore how technology, leadership, and innovation are shaping the future of business. I'm your host, Tracy Gardner. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic, AI for growth and for good, what business leaders can learn from Microsoft's approach. Joining me is Carson Heady, Managing Director for America's Enterprise Nonprofit at Microsoft Elevate, and a well-known thought leader on digital transformation and AI strategy. Carson, welcome to Tech Talk with VLink. Great to have you here.
Tracy, thank you so much for having me. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Well, Microsoft, Carson, we know has been at the forefront of advancing AI responsibly, both as a growth engine and as a force for good. From your perspective, how do you see these two goals kind of coming together?
It's a tremendous question, and it's definitely one that is top of mind. I think it starts with the responsibility that we feel in the knowledge that AI will be a technology that is diffused globally. But how can it be done ethically and responsibly? And it starts from our CEO, Satya Nadella, on down. We take very seriously that responsibility. And, my team, for instance, has been around in one shape or another over the last 8 years supporting and serving nonprofits. And every organization that we touch, every human that we touch will be impacted one way or another by AI. And there are responsible and really key ways that it can be leveraged in order to unlock new possibilities, life-saving mechanisms in healthcare, all the way to ways that we can better teach our children. And so Microsoft is at the forefront of this for that very reason, to make sure that it is done right and to make sure that we are responsibly making it into the technology that people are interacting with every day.
I love that. Well, and when you look across industries from enterprise to nonprofit, because you work with both, what common opportunities, Carson, or challenges do you see leaders facing as they adopt AI?
Every organization, including nonprofit right now, is looking at how should and how could data and analytics and AI best be leveraged to better serve those that they serve. From enterprise organizations looking at new potential commercial revenue streams, or frankly, what is data telling them about those that they create products for, all the way to nonprofit, where often the board is tasking these organizations with investigating the right leveraging of AI. Now, we live in a time too, Tracy, where budgets are not maybe what they were a few years back, and there's a lot of uncertainties. And so it's really all the more critical that we're finding the right ways to explore this technology. It's not a time to boil the ocean. It's time to really find meaningful way to enhance productivity internally, but also leverage AI to better connect with the end user, which is humankind.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be a bad thing. I think some people associate AI with it, that it can be a bad thing, but if we have those guardrails up, it can be a good thing, for sure. Microsoft, Carson, has long advocated for principles around fairness, transparency, accountability, all things that you have mentioned. How do those principles translate into real-world implementation for large organizations managing, for instance, complex data ecosystems?
Every organization, and it's fascinating to me, when I have these conversations with executives, and I mean, just sitting on decades of data and various sources and various silos, how can that be brought together? How can it be done the right way? Different structures and unstructured data, and really pulling together all of this, in a meaningful way. And so, a lot of these organizations are thinking about, like, what is the right apparatus by which to bring the data together? What is the right way to connect into the data? And then what are the right insights that we can be looking for? Now, the amazing thing about AI, in my opinion, one of the many amazing things, is that ability to really surface insights from the data that we may not even be looking for, and to find correlations. Some of the most interesting ones, frankly, are in healthcare, where I've seen organizations that are mapping out genomics, or mapping out different types of body sciences, and being able to uncover the ability to do predictive work, and find biomarkers and things of that nature so that there can be more predictive work done in the way of diseases. And, how can things be treated sooner and more effectively now than ever before? And so I think the key element is putting the outcome first, trying to
Yeah.
realize what is the outcome or outcomes that we are trying to solve as an organization, and then how can we collectively bring together the data and structure it in a meaningful way so that those insights can be gleaned.
Yeah, just a good balance, innovation, governance, ensuring AI strategies stay both ethical and effective, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
because especially when you're in healthcare, you're looking at PII and patient information, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes into that. Not only here stateside where we are, but looking globally and some of the different regulations that we're all beholden to as organizations. These all have to be taken into consideration, and things are changing rapidly all the time with those regulations. We have to keep up with it.
Yeah. And Carson, do you think executives are still seeing responsible AI as a compliance measure and not a growth strategy? And should they be seeing it this way?
Um, that's a good question. I think that it's definitely a blend. I think that there's the immediate of ensuring that there is compliance, but I believe that the growth strategy is burgeoning from that place, Tracy. And the reason that I think
Hmm.
that is because these outcomes that we want to derive from AI and data, the infrastructure has to be able to withstand, in
Yeah.
order to really beget the outcomes that we want to drive. So, when we think about, and as I work with nonprofit organizations and commercial customers on these potential outcomes, we've got to make sure that we have the compliant, data-driven infrastructure to be able to empower those results. And so I believe that the first and foremost, it is all about compliance and making sure that we've got the right infrastructure to beget that result. But then the growth strategy is, okay, now that we have that, what's possible? The sky is
Yeah.
the limit at that point.
Yeah. Just don't put the cart before the horse, right?
Right, exactly. And
You know.
that's the thing. I think every organization right now is trying to come up with their own strategy. There's a lot of, you know, um, really interesting industry conversations. There's some follow the leader. There's not a lot
Yeah,
of
for sure.
organizations that really want to blaze a trail per se, because it's easy to be very risk averse. And but on the
Hmm.
same token, we all know that we have to explore it. And so I think that's why it's incumbent upon all organizations to look at what's the right way to set up the infrastructure to go into this bold new future.
Yeah, Microsoft's definitely leading the way. We appreciate that. Well, I want to mention real quick, Carson, Microsoft's Velocity team is what we call it, kind of a catchy name. It helps businesses implement AI-driven Microsoft business solutions across Azure, Power Platform, Microsoft 365, helping them deliver, of course, exceptional results and customer experiences in a digital-first world. From your vantage point at Microsoft, how do you see partnerships like these like our VLink Velocity team with Microsoft, accelerating responsible AI adoption and driving growth and meaningful impact?
Absolutely critical. Tracy, when it comes to the frankly practical application of any of our technologies, it is paramount that we are exploring all the resources that are available in order to ensure success, to ensure that it's done the right way, to ensure that not only we lay the right groundwork and foundation, but frankly, that we're there beyond the transformation. And so velocity and many partnerships are so key because while Microsoft typically will create and make available the platform, the
Hmm.
real magic comes in what is built on and with and
Right.
through the solutions. And, that is why the partnership ecosystem is so vibrant. That is why such a high preponderance of our projects are done with with a valued partner, engaged from the get-go. And I would say, having been here for almost 12 years, the greatest value often that we can bring to organizations that we partner with is that ability to navigate what that ecosystem could and should
Yeah.
look like for the
Yeah.
for the end user, and helping the adoption be successful. There
Yeah.
is so much of this right now, Tracy, that comes down to that change management piece. That is the risk that so many foresee, and that's where I see Velocity as a key partner, because we can be there throughout that change and de-risk the decision to go in this bold direction.
Yeah, we're so appreciative of that. Carson, you work with organizations across multiple sectors. I know the nonprofit for sure, from social impact to enterprise transformation. What practical lessons would you say have emerged from deploying AI in such diverse environments that you can
Um,
apply?
that's a good question, and it's so ongoing because it's still being done at such a relatively early pace, but also one that is rapidly shifting. I was having a
Hmm.
conversation with an industry leader just the other day about just the rapid increase and influx of processing power within GPT engines just over the last year
It's
to three
crazy.
years. It is mind blowing. And so, when I think, Tracy, about the changes, but also the
Yeah.
awesome responsibility that's in front of us all. What's really top of mind is looking at what is going to be the most meaningful and impactful investment or investments that we can make in the near term, but also conceivably that we can build toward as North Stars in the longer term
Yeah.
in order to yield success. There's a lot of executive changes that have been happening over the last few years. And I would say every
Yeah.
time that I see one of these, they're very transformative thinking. It's very technology driven. It is often to revamp processes. And so I think organizations and executives right now are looking right now at, okay, where does AI and automation play in my organization to maximize HR, recruiting, marketing, our entire
Sure.
process? But then furthermore, what does this enable us to do better to meet our constituents where they are? I have a
Hmm.
lot of nonprofit executives that are looking right now at the implications for fundraising, donor management, all
Absolutely.
kinds of different ways that they can now increase volunteerism. Organizations that were impacted dramatically within the pandemic, that could no
Hmm.
longer interface and engage with people the way that they did 1 year prior. We're in a brave new world. And so it's critical that we're meeting people where they are, how they want to be met. But it's
Yeah.
also, it changes how we're looking at those potential pools of volunteers and donors, as an example. So I think every organization is looking at kind of the blend and the implications around this hybrid working world,
Yeah.
but also how do we improve our internal operations? And then how do we also maximize how we can engage with the public?
Yeah. Well, I hate to put you on the spot, but can you share a story or example where AI delivered unexpected outcomes, either in efficiency, innovation, impact, or if you can share a story? Can you think of
Absolutely.
one off the
So
top?
there's a few organizations, and we have a lot of very prolific published stories. We have a very robust storytelling and marketing team, but I think one of my favorites is an organization that works very closely with education, and it's one of our nonprofit partners, right? What the biggest challenge that they had was amidst the pandemic. They were forced to leverage virtual settings for the folks
Yeah.
that were volunteering and their employees to engage directly with the school systems and with kids, with faculty, with teachers. The challenge became is that over time the desire was actually to get these volunteers back into schools, and it was more and more challenging to make that a reality, not because of lack of availability per se, but because that pool of resources, how they were leveraging, getting volunteers had changed so dramatically in the years 2020, 2021, and a
Yeah.
couple of years beyond that. What we actually wound up doing with this organization was exploring, and Microsoft has made a lot of very incredible investments over the last decade plus, LinkedIn being one of them.
Yeah.
The ability to go out and, with the power of LinkedIn and AI, be able to find that ideal profile with and for some of these organizations geographically by certain skill sets and really desired mentor matching has been incredibly powerful. I think the ones that inspire me very frequently are ones that are education focused, because it's
Yeah.
near and dear to my heart, as I have three kids and I
Yeah.
have a family of teachers. But then also when I look at the healthcare implications, and the last thing I'll say is that any time that we're able to really be a conduit to greater Microsoft, these can be very fulfilling partnerships. There are often times where, while our nonprofit team has existed for about 8 years, when we can reach across the aisle, even internally, and bring in resources from our healthcare channel that can and want and will to invest time and resources and energy into the nonprofit space, it gives us the ability to really transcend what's possible. We're doing things around IoT and wearable devices where we're tracking patients. We're tracking people with behavioral health challenges and things of that nature, and being able to get this data into central repositories of data in real time, and being able to interact and interface with clinicians, and the speech to text translation technology, all of these implications in the nonprofit and healthcare and commercial realm are extraordinary.
Incredible innovation at lightning speed, really. So it's crazy what we're going to see in our lifetime.
It is.
It is. It's crazy.
I kid you not. I mean, just to look at the advancements over the last 6 months and what has been possible, to think about what we'll be doing 5 years from now, is really inspiring.
It really is. One last thing, Carson, you've been so great. If you had one message for like CIOs, CTOs listening, digital leaders about leading responsibly in the AI era, what do you think it would be?
Yeah. Far be it for someone who has long been a sales leader to tell a CIO how to do their job. But I do,
But you are in the tech world. You are in the tech world.
Yeah, living in this space definitely comes with some privileges. And I think going in eyes wide open, and really being intentional about the outcomes that you're trying to deliver. My favorite question to ever ask an executive is, especially in the nonprofit space, what do you want your legacy to be? What problem did you come into this role to solve? Because they all have one. They all have a North Star that they're building toward. And I think that if CIOs and other executives today are very intentional about how they can leverage technology and be eyes wide open to the possibilities of what can and should be done in order to solve those problems and go after that North Star, I think the sky is the limit. There's a lot of noise in the space. And so I think you've got to do your due diligence. And that's why I think it's great that there is good, healthy competition in this space, because I think that fosters innovation. So I think for our CIOs and technology leaders today, be eyes wide open, but be very bullish on how you are leveraging and exploring technology to go after your North Star and solve big, meaningful problems for the world.
I love it. I love it. Well, Carson, this has been such an insightful discussion, bringing purpose, performance, and responsibility in AI. Thank you for joining us on Tech Talk with VLink. We've enjoyed having you.
Tracy, it was a real pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And VLink, I just want to mention real quick, has been recognized as a Microsoft Solutions Partner for Digital and App Innovation. This prestigious designation validates VLink's proven expertise in modernizing applications, building cloud-native solutions, and driving innovation with Microsoft Azure. And if you'd like more information, you can email me at tgardner@vlinkinfo.com. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to follow Tech Talk with VLink for more insights from leaders who are shaping the future of technology and business. Carson, thanks again.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.